All right, guys, Jay here. Our Rotary's in for Jay's printers, and I'm going to show you guys how to get this thing set up and ready to print on and print some example. Hopefully have a good print by the end of this, and we'll calibrate it up and get it ready to go. All right, so you see we get the two black pieces, the two rods, and an even amount of screws. Some models come with more, some models come with less, but you'll get an even amount of screws, or not screws, I'm sorry, wheels, my goodness, and then a handful of screws. So what we do is we take one of these bars, and then we put half of the wheels on one bar, just like so. Okay, so now we have where the wheels. This is actually going to be where your cup or bottle will sit, spin on the thing. Now we have the black pieces here, which is the side pieces, and you'll see this plate right here with all the holes. So we get to choose, so it depends on what you're printing and the diameter of what you're printing on. We get to choose which hole. So we're gonna be printing on a 3-inch, I believe, tumbler, straight wall tumblers. I suggest straight wall cylinders. Tumblers are the best for these rotaries. And I found that going 1, 2, 3 holes in is gonna be the sweet spot for this tumbler. So let's get that on. Spread these out a little bit. These are meant to be moved freely. That's it. This is assembled and it's ready to go on the printer. But before we put it on the printer, there's a couple things that I want to do with the printer. Let's run over to the printer. We need to figure out how we're going to get this thing to print to 0. What we need to do is actually draw ourselves a little rectangle. We want to put on a millimeter that has a line width. Right now there's none. Let's go ahead and say 1 millimeter. All right, now we want to tuck this into the corner. 0, 0. All right, and so for the purpose of rotary printing, we want to print a margin. So we'll go to settings, and you see the X margin right here. X margin, I'm going to print 15 millimeters. So this is going to offset everything by 15 millimeters. We'll go and click save. And I want to do this before we go to the next part because this will print for you just a little bit faster. All right, so we have this doodad here, and we're just going to print this directly on the bed right now. All right, so you can see right here the margin moved it over. So 0 was here, and now we're 15 centimeters over. This is an important step. As you're moving this down, you need to drop the bed now that we're done printing that on there to get room for there. Make sure you don't have stuff under here. I know I like to keep stuff under there because we're typically printing skinny items, but just make sure there's nothing under there. This time we had a spare print head. You don't want to squash that. So we're going to move this down. It'll just take a couple of minutes. Now we'll drive this bed all the way to the back and we'll get ourselves a rotary. There are 4 screws right here, and we're going to actually just loosen those just a little bit. This is going to be different for everybody's tool. So now this will move freely, somewhat. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Okay. This moves up and down. And this is just for setting it right. Make sure you have some wheels spread around, which they moved on me. That's okay. And we're going to bring this right into the printer. Now, I have my machine turned on, so when I push this back, it's going to block the laser sensor for us. And it will continue to move down for us. And we're going to set this about in the right position. So this particular printer has 3 print heads. So they are almost in line with the lamps. So we have these little things here. So there's a print head here, and we want both the white and the color print head to be about dead center of this of the wheels. So we'll get this about to position because we're going to actually have to take this out again. There's about there. Move this forward. And then we want these loose, and these need to touch our aluminum right here. That's why we left these loose. Now we go and we tighten up just the top screws. The rotary, the wheels have to be tight to the top of the aluminum, and then the supports has to be tight to the top of the bed right here. So this side, on this machine, we can go ahead and tighten up all 4 of the screws that we loosened. So we'll move the print head to the left. Since it's down below the laser sensor, which should be clear. And then with a longer screwdriver, we should be able to tighten just the top 2 on this side. So we make tight to there, tight to here, tighten the top. There we go. I'm gonna send this back home. Remember, you asked me if I get ink on my hands. I just touched the ink cap, so I got a little ink on my hands. Now we'll pull this out and we'll tighten the bottom 2. If you couldn't reach the bottom 2 on that side, you can tighten the bottom 2 now at this point. So now these are at the right height. So now let's set this back with the bed all the way back. You'll notice as you move the bed back, there's some screw holes here. So depending on your accessory, it will depend on which hole you want to put in. So again, we're going to push this back. I'm going to move the print head over. And then I want it to, the print heads, specifically the white and the color print head, where they come together. So there's the front of the color print head and the back of the white print head, where those 2 almost touch, need to be dead center between our 2 rods right here. We're going to be printing right here. So we need these to be dead center with here, specifically the print heads, not necessarily the caps, although they're about the same location. So I'm gonna do it by eye. So I'm getting down here and looking at my print heads and getting what I think looks lined up. This print head comes up here and then lines up with this one. So it needs to be about right here. We're trying to get in the center of the rotary. Now we're gonna get that about where we want it. There's still gonna be some adjustments, but we'll go ahead and put in some screws for the next step. So the bed's all the way back, so I can put in the screws in the front, which will be the screw holes that are exposed. And then we'll jump to the other side because we can't reach the back hole. Okay, so the front's locked. I'll go ahead and move this over. And then I'm going to select the out button and move the bed all the way to the front. Now the wheels and the holes in the back are now free to put in the screws. I suggest to leave the screws slightly in the back, not fully torqued, and that'll make it easier for adjustments later. The reason why we keep the back a little loose is because you can't access the screws easily in the back. And while we're calibrating, there's a possibility we need to loosen the screws and push the rotary back or forward just a little bit, because the position of the rotary is crucial in this operation. Too far forward, it'll be out of focus. Too far back, it'll be out of focus. You won't be able to print. So this way, we can only have to loosen the 2 in the front, and we can slightly move it back and forth until we're happy. I'm going to jump into the next thing, and that's back up in the software. What we need to do is change the print head layout. Right now, it thinks it's printing on flat surfaces, but we want to go ahead and tell it that, hey, no, we're printing on a curved surface. So it's essentially going to cut the print head from printing full width to printing 1/6 of the width. That way it won't fade over the sides and you'll get a better print. What we need to do is actually go into the advanced settings. Now there's a secret setting here. We actually need to go into advanced or factory settings. Press Control F12 and you see right here, it changed to factory mode. If Control F12 doesn't work, it means your F12 has a function for it already, so you have to press Control Function F12, and then you'll enter factory mode. So Control F12, and now the password is 6 consecutive 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, a word of warning when you go into this, any adjustments you made here will be saved, whether you save them or not, because this is the factory settings, so don't adjust anything here. So as soon as it comes in, what I want you to do is go to firmware, export your firmware configuration to your desktop. This will save all of your settings. So if you want to revert back to it, this will say if you screw something up, we'll just import this back in and you'll be safe. So 815, let's see, we're recording this today. Let's say right here on my desktop. And you also want to go to firmware, export, configuration, and parameter. We want to do both of these. And again, that's 8. That's just today. We're recording this on the 15th. So now you know how long it takes for me to get a video out. So if you have an issue, say you screw something up by just touching, and you don't need to save anything on this, so just touching, and all you gotta do is import, and then you'll import in the firmware you just exported, and then file, import in the configuration. That throws up a splash screen. All right, so the whole purpose of going to this is going to be to go to the head. This is our current head configuration. On a rotary, we need to print with this one. It'll say 6.1 or 1/6. Say we're only printing with head 1 and head 2. Okay, that's the whole reason we went into that. So I'll go ahead and just exit out of this. All right, so now we're ready for calibration. Okay, so I suggest using straight wall cups or straight walled bottles. That's the best thing for these rotaries and to print on. And the tapered, it's just really difficult to print on a tapered item. You can do it by building other jigs to get them to go up like this, and laying it out is a little harder. This is simple to lay out. It's great for beginning. So let's check it out. I actually got these tumblers from Crust Creative. I'll put a link to her in my description. Thank you. All right, so we want to go ahead, and this is a scrap one, by the way, which I already have a print on it, and get the measurements. Now we're working with Chinese machines, so I suggest working in metric, because the system just likes metric better, even though it supports some standard stuff. So we'll measure from top to bottom. I'm going to measure right here to the top of the stainless steel and down here in the color area. And we got 190 millimeters. And now we want to do the circumference. And you'll see that comes back around to about 240 millimeters. By the way, to do rotaries, I suggest getting a flexible tape measure like this. It's used for fabric. I'll post this in the links in the description below, and metric. This right here, I'm going to suggest to go ahead and let's protect it, because we don't want to ruin our cups. So get some masking tape, and we're going to go ahead, mask this doodad off. And that's probably enough for what I'm doing. All right, don't forget to take the lid off. There might be something in your way. Take that off and let's print it with it off. We need to know where the printer is going to land and where it's going to fall for the prints. So we printed that rectangle on the bed right here. So now we know this is right where it's going to print, because we just printed this line here. So I'd like to take the silicone or the rubber gasket on this one right on top of the line. Sorry, then we'll slide it back. We'll put this one right there. And we know that it's going to start the print on the center of that roller, because it's touching the line that we just printed with the 15 millimeter margin. So if we were to set this here, it's going to print right here. That's how we know. Okay, so now I'm going to drive this down even further. This is something we're going to have to do by eye. We won't reach back to the laser to tell us the correct height. So when we believe that we have this low enough, I'm going to move the print head right over top of the cup, make sure it's not going to hit. And then we'll raise it up. Needs to be 2 millimeters away from your print head. That'll make everybody happy. Okay, so there's 2 calibrations that we're going to have to do. The first one is going to be, since this is on wheels, we've now put in gears. We need to adjust the gear ratio. And that's really simple to do. I'm going to jump back onto my computer and I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so this one, what we'll do is go into the RIP. We already have our line up here that we wanted. I'm going to tell this 0. And then we want to do 29 by 29. The reason why that's reverting, you'll see I type in 29. We're printing a 1 millimeter line. It adds the 1 millimeter to the 29. So we're going to print a 30 by 30 rectangle. We already have this adjusted. We'll go ahead and I'll leave the spot color on. It's not going to print anything then. It's fine. Just going to print black. Let's go ahead and see how this does. Print and print. We're printing a 30 millimeter square, and we're going to measure that and make sure it's 30 millimeters because have all the leverage or the gears, it's may not be 30 millimeters. This is in rotary mode, so it prints slow because it only can print a small amount of the print head. As this advances, it rotates the pulleys, which rotate the cup. All right, if you're lucky enough to have one of our models, there's an off switch here, shut off our varnish lamp. Okay, so this was the X. The X shouldn't have moved. So we printed a 30 by 30 millimeter. So we should be the outside of the black line 30. By 30 right there. So this gear ratio is fine. If you're printing a smaller cup or you're printing a bigger cup, your gear ratios might need to be changed. It's important to know how to do that. Even though this one's okay, I'm going to show you how to change that real quick on the in the software. It's a very easy process. All right, so to do this, we go to RIP and we go over here to the tool and we click error compensation. So what this is say, hey, I printed a 30 millimeter by 30 millimeter image, but we wound up with a 30 millimeter by 29 millimeter image. You can even do 0.5, 0.2, whatever, and click OK. And then now print the rectangle again, and you'll see that we printed a 30 by 30. So this compensates. So as you change your tumblers, you're going to need to compensate it just like this. All right, so the next thing we're going to have to do if you go to print these is you're going to have to adjust your headspace. I have a video on how to adjust your headspace. You just have to go through that. So it takes a little bit. And then once you have it adjusted, then the headspace, if you want to print white. If you're printing white tumblers, you're ready to go, just print. If you're printing color, we need to adjust the headspace. I have to know the headspace setting I need to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and set it to that now. Okay, so for me to print this, we'll go this, and then we need to adjust our vertical to negative, I think it was negative 25. Save. So I noticed this is printing here. So the printer, it's printing here when this is probably the top. So I actually need to move this cup forward on the rotary. So the only way we can do that is loosen these two top front screws. And I'm just going to pull it forward a hair. And I'm going to tighten it back. And then we'll continue on with my test print. After we completed the headspace calibration, it took me 3 prints to calibrate the rotary of pushing it in and out to making sure it's dead on underneath the printer to get ready to print. All right, so I think we're ready for a true print.
So we need to actually bring in a rectangle. This is going to represent our tumbler that we're about to print on. If you don't know, we need to go up here. You convert from inches. So I'm going to go into the metric, specifically millimeters, measure the cup. The cup will be, as it prints on the rotary, I'm thinking at this side here will be the top of the mug of the tumbler. This will be the bottom. But we'll go ahead and click on this, and now we'll input our height of the actual tumbler. We measure that real quick. That is 190 millimeters. So we'll make it 190 millimeters. And then we need to measure the actual circumference. This is where printing straight walled cups is the best, because a straight walled cup will be the same all the way around. It's super easy for printing. Better solution. That's 240 millimeters. So now what you see here is this is, like I said, the top, the bottom, and then if we took the whole tumbler and peeled it all the way around, this would be that. So we'll go ahead and import in our logo here. All right, so this has a black outline. So I want to keep this for registration for our cup. And let's go here. And I'm actually going to select, I want to select the outline. We'll say no outline. So Now it's recognized as here, but this is clear, no color on it whatsoever. The one thing on here is this. All right, so this is CorelDRAW. Now I'm gonna go export this as a PNG specifically. Tumbler, RGB, you can see how it left it the whole size, but it's transparent. I always export RGB. Okay, now Photoshop, go to open. Now let's go ahead and make this spot channel real quick. I have a more in-depth video on this if you want to see that.
Okay, so it's printing the final print now. Hopefully it looks good. Make sure you have your varnish lamp off when you're printing, whenever you're not printing varnish. The rotary on these machines cannot print varnish. You can't print varnish because the third head's too far away, but you can get the white and you can get the clear, and it prints quite well. And they hold it pretty good to the dishwasher and whatnot, better than the stickers in my opinion. We're using a hard ink from iMagic Ink, printing with the 6090 printer from Jay's Printers through an XP600 print head. All right, let's see how it goes. All right, so here it is. Like I said, don't make fun of me. This was a recycled cup. Right here. And if you ever wondered, you could print on top of UV DTF. And so actually the iMagic Ink is pretty good on these. They're pretty scratch resistant. And we can throw this in the dishwasher. But that's how you do it. Before we jump off, there is one really important tip that I want to give you. Actually two, actually. My computer fell asleep mid-print and it stops printing. Make sure your computers don't fall asleep, it'll stop communication. But there's one really important tip, and I'm going to show you in the software, and it's going to save you tons of time. Just a second. Okay, so we're done printing. The tip I need to give you is actually we'll go back into advanced. This time we don't need to go into the ultra factory settings. We can just do the traditional ones, which is 6 consecutive ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can go into the ultra super fancy one if you want. I suggest staying out of that if you don't need to be in it. All right, so we go to firmware, and like I said in the beginning, we're going to export, and then this one we're going to call it 70 millimeters. This is a 70 millimeter cylinder firmware. I'll go ahead and save this. We'll go ahead and save it here. And then now we're going to go to firmware, export, and again, 70 millimeter cylinder, whatever. All right, so now we have all of our settings. Our calibrations are all saved. And next time we want to come in, we just need to load up our firmware and we won't have to calibrate again. We're ready to go. So with that said, when we first started, we imported or exported our flatbed. We want to take off the rotary now. So I'm going to import and find my 825. It's a BSFX file. So you can see all of the firmwares that we have, but this is 8.15.25. This is today's. Importing, okay? And we'll go to File, Import. And then back to the desktop down at the bottom. Now, this one also puts up the splash screen. I don't always get to show up. So we'll click these. 3 have to be clicked. We'll click OK. Now it's changing our parameters. All right, successful. Now we go File, Save, Quit. So guess what? It's all set up. It's ready to go print back to flatbed printing. That will save you a lot of time. Okay, so that little tip there will save you tons of time. We did a 70 millimeter tumbler. If you want to do, a 100 millimeter tumbler, you save your settings, get everything ready to go. And the next time you don't have to go through the calibration process. You just load it up and you're ready to print that tumbler or whatever it is you're printing on. All right, so that's how you get the rotary done and get everything printed up there real nice. I want to say thanks to Crest Creative. If you tell her Jay sent you over there, she'll probably get you a good discount. And thanks to iMagic Ink with Jay's Printers, same thing. Again, I'm Jay. This is my to-do list. Thanks for stopping.